Hello, this is Kerry from Your Level Best, and today I'm going to be doing a recipe that uses some of the ingredients I described in my vitamin A video about adding vitamin A to a recipe. Really, I had all the ingredients together to show you, so I figured it'd be a good idea to actually show you a recipe. So this is actually what I'm calling my leftover vitamin A ingredient casserole. Now, one of the things you see here is I have my crock pot, or a slow cooker, however you want to call it. This is actually what I use most of the time to cook my meals because, quite frankly, I don't have a whole lot of time to do a lot of cooking on the weekends. Of course, I'm shooting these videos for you, but I also work full-time and it doesn't leave a lot of time to cook. So my slow cooker is one of my best friends, helps me out a lot. I can pretty much put everything in here, set it, and forget it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate this recipe. If you go to our website at yourlevelbest.net, I'll actually have this listed under the blog post. You could download the recipe and try it yourself. So if you do try this recipe, leave it in the comments below and tell us what you think. So let's get started. So what I have here in the crock pot, I actually have my 1.5 pounds of pork tenderloin. The reason I'm using pork tenderloin, it gives a great amount of protein to the dish, but it also doesn't need a whole lot of fat. It's actually lower in calories for the protein amount. And so what you want to do is use something that's lean. Even though they say don't use a pork tenderloin in the crock pot, I think you can use the pork tenderloin in a crock pot because it is a lot easier to do. So what I'll do right now is I'll take some of my ingredients here. So I have here some cubed butternut squash, and I also have some cubed sweet potatoes. These are a couple of the vitamin A ingredients that I'm going to be putting in today. So I'm going to go ahead and lift the lid on the crock pot here, and I'm just going to go ahead and take my butternut squash and dump it in. Then I'm also going to take my sweet potato and dump it all in. Now, I'm actually doing a doubling of this recipe today because we actually do a lot of meals out of this stuff. So what I normally do is I use a large crock pot. Now, this is an 8-quart. A lot of people could do with 4, but because a lot of times I'm making 16 or more servings of a particular dish, I need a large crock pot, and there are some on the market that are 8 quarts, so they're a good thing to have. I'm also going to take, I've got some onions here, and I'm also going to dump my onions in. As well as I've got some canned green chilies here. These you can buy at the supermarket. They're fairly mild, but they add a lot of flavor to the dish. So I'll go ahead and pour those right in. All right, so now I've got all of these ingredients into the crock pot. Now I'm going to go ahead and add this is going to be the wet ingredients. So in a bowl here, I've got my canned pumpkin, which is another vitamin A Powerhouse ingredient. So I'm going to add my pumpkin, I've got my olive oil, and I've got my eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and beat my eggs a little bit on the side here to make them a little easier to mix in. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix these together. So we'll do this first. It'll make it a little easier to mix in the rest of the ingredients, because what we're going to do is pour this over the other ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my garlic. So I've got my garlic here that I'm adding in. Then I'm also going to add in my salt and pepper. So this is to taste. I'm only using a 1/4 teaspoon of each just to give it a little bit of flavor. What I don't want to do is increase the sodium in the dish to where it really can hurt somebody's sodium levels. So be careful, actually measure this stuff. Pepper you don't necessarily have to measure because it's spicy, but you definitely want to measure your salt because remember there's salt in everything. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here. And I'm going to mix this up and do like that. And then now I'm going to grab my chicken broth. So this is 1 quart of chicken broth. And I'm going to add this in. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this all together. I may do it in a couple of additions here because it's going to take a second to get this all mixed together. Okay. So now that we have that, before we actually put this in the crock pot, I forgot to mention that I also am using a green bell pepper. What the green bell pepper will do is add some vitamin C. So we've got plenty of vitamin A, we need to balance that out with vitamin C. So as you can see, this is getting pretty full. There we go. So now that I've got all my wet ingredients stirred in, I'm going to go ahead and pour this over the top. Okay, let me throw this in. Okay, great. I'm sure this is all in there. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, get some of this out of the way, is I'm gonna go ahead and take this, it's now pretty heavy, and I'm gonna go ahead and cover this, and I'm going to put it on low for 8 hours. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put the lid on, plug it in, set the timer for 8 hours, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Hello everyone and welcome back. It's 8 hours later and the crock pot dish is almost done. Right now, when you lift the lid, it actually looks absolutely spectacular. Some of the potatoes have broken down, some haven't, and same with the squash. I also shredded the pork tenderloin already. So that's done, and all we have to do now is add 2 more ingredients, and then this particular dish will be done. So right now I've got a little bit of cheese. This is 4 ounces shredded of hot pepper cheese. So what I'm going to do is I'll take the lid off and I'm going to add in the cheese while it's still nice and hot and get that melted in. It'll take just a moment. Let me put this back here. So I'm going to stir this in and let it melt. I've actually shredded the cheese very, very finely so it would melt very quickly into the stew. And it's turning out very, very well. Then finally, I have here some sour cream. You can either use sour cream or yogurt. This will also give a little bit of creaminess to the dish. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the sour cream. So let me go ahead and add that in. Get every little last bit of it right in there. And I'm going to stir this in. So what you'll have here is a dish that is full of vitamin A. It also has vitamin C from the green peppers, But as you'll find, this is not only a very vitamin-rich dish, but it's also a dish that tastes good because, quite frankly, when you're cooking healthy and the dish just doesn't taste very good, it's not worth it. It's not worth eating. So what I like to do is make sure that all the dishes that I make are healthy and also tasty. So what I want to do right now is to show you what this looks like in the bowl. It should be really good. So let me grab one of my bowls here, and I'm going to grab a serving of this beautiful, beautiful stew. So I have the stew right here in the bowl, and it looks amazing. It looks creamy, it looks tasty, and I'm sure you'll love it when you make it for yourself. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this dish. Make it yourself. If you like this video, leave a comment below, and please subscribe. And if you want the recipe, go to yourlevelbest.net and it will be on the front page. So download the recipe, give it a try, and we'll see you next time.